Hi, my name is Jamie Curtis, and on this week's online video announcements, we will be doing next week Thanksgiving break and the week after Thanksgiving break. So next week, November 20th through the 24th, on Monday, there's an ASVAB for the juniors in Bailey Auditorium at 8:30 a.m. There's a Head Start parent meeting at East in room 2 at 12 p.m. Miss Cyprian's Thanksgiving play is at 2 p.m. in the library at East Elementary. There's Ladybugs basketball versus Merkel at home, and there's junior high boys basketball versus Eastland at home. On Tuesday, there's an early release for Thanksgiving at 1 p.m. There's the second annual Turkey Trot and Canned Food Drive at North Elementary beginning at 9 a.m. And there's Ladybugs basketball versus Graham at 4. And there's boys basketball at Coleman varsity only beginning at 5 p.m. And the rest of the week is Thanksgiving break, and hopefully we will have a playoff game towards the end of the week. Now for the week of November 27th through December 1st. On Monday, there's a junior high boys basketball game versus Toller at home beginning at 4:30 p.m. On Tuesday, Art2Go is at South, and there's a robotics program at North at 8:45 a.m. There's a boys basketball game versus Minter Wells at Minter Wells, and there's Ladybugs basketball versus Santo at home beginning at 5 p.m. On Wednesday, Jostens meet with the seniors at 9:30 a.m. at the high school. And Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, there's a girls' JV basketball tournament at Minter Wells, and there's a boys' basketball tournament at Dublin. There's been some political correctness about the first Thanksgiving, and Mr. Best is going to break that down for us.
Hi Jamie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Best?
I'm fine. Wanted to talk a little bit about Thanksgiving. There's been kind of a movement in the last several years that's it's about political correctness. And with regard to history, political correctness is when you revise a story or you tell a traditional story, for example, Thanksgiving, in a new way. Specifically, some of the criticism that has been lobbied against America's Thanksgiving is that it was really not what we've been told all along, that these pilgrims came over from England in 1620 on the Mayflower, and they really weren't working collaboratively with the Native Americans that they encountered. Rather, they were exploiting them and stealing their land and making war and stuff like that. Now certainly there's been lots of things to be concerned about and frustrated with relationships between Americans back in those times and the native peoples in areas now like the United States. But in this particular case, the story of Thanksgiving is actually pretty much what we've always heard. So I want to kind of give us a few facts on that. Now, a little background on the Pilgrims. They're part of what we call the Puritans, and so they were a Protestant group in England who really sought separation from the Church of England, and of course that's why they're literally called the Separatists. And they were indeed separating themselves from England literally by getting on a ship called the Mayflower and sailing across the Atlantic Ocean, which took them something like 8 weeks, brutal voyage. And they arrived in what we now call Massachusetts, specifically Plymouth Rock, going into winter time. So very difficult circumstances. About half of them did not make it through that first winter. But the incredible story is the Pilgrims are minding their own business for the most part there in their village area, and a Native American named Squanto literally walks up to them and says, "Welcome," in English, And they got to know Squanto a little bit. He was sent by Chief Massaset of the Wampanoag tribe, and they discovered that some years prior to that, there had been Indians who had been kidnapped, basically, taken to Spain, went from Spain to England, and ironically were already back in North America and were completely fluent in English and were there in that specific area. Quite a story, really. Anyway, the Pilgrims actually built a very strong relationship with the Native Americans in that area. They became allies. They helped each other out. And Thanksgiving is really a fall harvest feast that they put together. It was probably a 3 or 4 day, long celebration. They did a lot of kind of martial things, hunting, competition games and that sort of thing. It was a real celebration. And I think the whole thing is just an incredible story that is worth checking out. Let me just say this in closing. There's an outstanding program. You can probably look it up on YouTube, but it's called Mayflower, Dangerous Crossing. I've used it in my dual credit American history classes. It really goes into depth on all this. You'd love it. It'd be a great thing to look at during Thanksgiving. And of course, on behalf of our journalism classes and just the school in general, we want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. And thanks for watching.
We're glad to report that the next issue of the BHS Dynamo, which is the high school newspaper, comes out the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It will be inside the Breckenridge American. This is a special issue that covers the 50th anniversary of BHS with a couple of cool interviews.